Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. All right, today we're going to take a quick look at Cartaventura. Adventure Awaits, Vinland from Cosmos Games. So if you're familiar with Seventh Continent, you are pretty much familiar with this game. As you can see from the back of the box, it even looks a lot like Seventh Continent. And that's really what it is. It is a very, very small box. For size comparison, here's a Hunted, which is already in a small box, and Ventura is a square box that's even smaller. And this really is a kind of a more simplified version of Seventh Continent. And even more so than that game, Cartaventura Vinland feels like you are playing a game book with the spine cut where you are just laying the pages out on the table. I would say that there is even less of a board game here than there is in Seventh Continent. As a matter of fact, the rules are just on 2 cards, which is pretty nice. You can learn the game as you set up and play. But it even tells you that you are not going to be looking at the pictures with a lot of detail. There aren't hidden things that you have to pay attention to on the pictures. The cards really are just art, and it could be art from a game book. And I think that is pretty much sums up my opinion on the game. Is I would just prefer this to be in a book. It would be easier to play, and I don't think you would really lose anything, or conversely, I don't think anything is really gained by playing this kind of game on a table with cards rather than just playing from a book. The game is only $14.95, so that is a pretty good deal. You're probably going to get a few hours out of it. It says you could play it multiplayer, 1 to 6 players. I'm not sure why it would cap out at 6, because really all you are doing is you would be going around the table taking turns making decisions. But at $14.95, I would, if you're looking for an adventure game, I would highly recommend the newest version of Fabled Lands, The Serpent King's Domain, which is an absolutely massive book. And at $14.95, I think you're going to get a lot more value and a lot more adventure from Fabled Lands. Or you could even buy 2 of the older volumes of Fabled Lands and have twice as much adventure as you would in Cartaventura Adventure Awaits Vinland. However, that is not to say that this is a bad game or a bad experience or a bad adventure experience, because so far it's pretty cool. I've seen 1 ending. I believe there are 5, and I did start over, and we are kind of at a point where I can kind of show you how the game works without giving too much away, because so much of this game is about discovery. It's about making your choices. I don't want to show too much. In this adventure here, so far I've been through this many cards. Many of the cards have 2 sides. Usually you're going to draw a card with the color circle. It's going to be face up from the stack of large cards. There are about 70 cards in the game. So this is kind of like a game book with 70 pages. You can think of it like that. And you are going to be told at certain times, depending on which decisions you make, to flip the card over, in which case you're going to have a black square on the back there. And that's kind of like the card's terminus. That's kind of like where the card ends or something like that. You can think of it like that. So when you put the game back together, when you put the deck back together, you are going to put it back together in number order with the color circles face up. So it's very easy to reset, so you can jump right back in and try to get one of the better or different endings. In this game, you are playing as Leif Erikson, and the story begins with you traveling to Iceland, where your father, Eric the Red, has been falsely accused of murder, and you're trying to clear his name. I recently failed in trying to clear his name, so I am being pretty much exiled from Iceland, so I have to return to Greenland. So there are 4 different types of cards in the game. There are these ones with the gear, which those are actions. Those are actions you can take. Right now, I could have taken this action here, where I could have participated in some kind of fight, or I could have gone to the tavern and done one of those verbal jousts, those rap battles that the Vikings used to get into. But this card is locked away because you have to have a blue gemmed card in order to participate in this action. And those gemmed cards take shape of these god cards. And you have three gods at the beginning of the game. You have Loki, Thrud, and Tyr. And when you gain the favor of one of these gods, you can flip that god over, and then you can do a special ability on a card with that gem. If you don't have that gem, if you don't have the favor of the god unlocked at that time, then you cannot participate in those special gemmed cards. So I failed to clear the name of my father. And so I am being exiled and I need to return to Greenland. And so right now this tells me to discard all the visible action cards and turn this card over. So basically I'm going to lose access to these two action cards during this game. So I'm going to discard those, put those in my discard stack, and then we're going to turn this card over. And now we are at sea. We are taking off. We are returning we are trying to get to Vinland here. And so I'm going to lay this card out now as the new center of my map, and I'm going to place card 28 to the west of this card. So this is going to be a place where I can explore. So I will find 28 here, and 28 would go there. But now it's a card that we have to deal with immediately because of this lightning bolt here. So that says, after several days crossing without complications, you believe you have arrived on the coast of Greenland. But you have barely disembarked when you realize your mistake. You are clearly too far west. You take to the sea again, pointing northeast. You finally pull alongside your land. Approaching Bathalid, your village, you notice some unusual activity on a new construction site. Some men you do not know are working on a strange building, which looks like nothing you have known in the Nordic lands. When you enter the family home, you surprise your mother mid-conversation with a young woman who she introduces as Gudrid. A lot of the names are very hard for me to pronounce if you're not into Viking culture. I'm not one of those guys who has embraced the Viking pop culture into my life. I know Vikings are like super popular with some people. I just have never been into Viking culture, so I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce all this stuff. But then now this says turn card 28 over. So we're going to turn this over. So now we are in Greenland here. And we can attach that there. And now we want to set up cards 29, 30, and 31 to start our map. So we turn to those pages in the rule book. So, in the book, if this was if this was an adventure book, it might say, if you want to do this, turn to page 29. If you want to do this, turn to page 30. If you want to do this, turn to page 31. But instead of that, we lay the cards or the pages out on the table. So if we want to talk with your sister, Freydis, we can turn to that page there. If we want to talk to Thjodid, your mother, we can turn to that page there. Or if we want to talk to Gudrid, we can turn to this page here. So those are our options now that we have arrived in Greenland. I don't have any favors of the gods right now, so I'm not going to have any kind of special choices I can make. I don't have any items, and there's really no there's no survival mechanism. There aren't item combination cards, at least none that I have seen in the game yet, like Seventh Continent, or even like what was the name of that one that I really liked, the other Cosmos game? Adventure, Experience, the Story, the Adventure, the Dungeon, or something like that. Like that game had a little bit more gameplay going on. This, so far from what I've seen, has been a pretty basic choose your own adventure style game. But these are all action cards, so we can take an action. Let's meet with my sister. So we're going to turn this card over, turn card 29 over. So now we have this card here. You find your younger sister, Freydis, in a cabin a little ways away from the village. Her face lights up when she sees you. She tells you of her great distress. Since the arrival of Gudrid, the old gods seem to have deserted the village. One of the cool things that did happen in the beginning of the game is Christianity is kind of making its way into your land. And that is a central part of the story, it seems, that kind of conflict between the religion of the Viking people and the encroaching intrusion of Christianity. And so you can make some choices about how you want to deal with that. I did like that. Eric, your father, was actually chased away, and she is very worried for him. Freydis begs you to help her turn back the course of events, to refuse to abandon your ancestral beliefs. Yes, I believe that. Do not let Christianity into your land. That is a good course of action. And to find your father. But she warned you that the new northern colony is situated in a much wilder region, populated by fearsome creatures. One thing is certain: if you do not intervene decisively, she will leave this cursed place forever and find a haven elsewhere to continue celebrating the ancestral Nordic life and rites. As for your mother, a Christian now, she should be punished as a traitor. So it does get into some pretty, real historic and historic activities and some things that I could see maybe upsetting some people. So know that going in. This is a historic game. It also comes with this little historic pamphlet that does give you some background on the game. And there are also two other versions of the game where you have Lhasa and Oklahoma. The Oklahoma. That might be kind of interesting. I want to check out the Oklahoma version. But let's see what we can do. We can go find your father. So we could discard all visible action cards. So again, locking those out for this game. Draw card 34 and then discard this, or we could decide later. So this is kind of going to be, looks like this is going to be the nexus, the passageway through which our main story is going to continue down a certain direction. And you're just going to kind of be doing that. You're going to be laying out cards. You'll have choices. You'll make a choice. You'll discard other cards as those are locked away. And then you will continue to progress until you reach one of the 5 different endings. The art is nice, I think. It has good art. I do like looking at it. I do wish that there was a little more interaction with the art. That is one thing about Seventh Continent that I do really like, is that you do need to look at the art. There are clues as to what you need to do from the art. So there is a little bit of that kind of gameplay element missing from this game. So this really does feel like a choose your own adventure with the pages ripped out of the book and then displayed on the table. It is small. It is only $15. You will get a few hours of enjoyment out of it. It might be a really nice game for you and your significant other to play. I do want to give Seventh Continent another chance. It is a game that I have been thinking about a lot lately. I still have not cracked my way into Seventh Continent. I still love the idea of that game, but I still don't like the game. I don't think I like this better. If I wanted to play something like this, I think I personally would turn to a game book like Fabled Lands, which has an incredible sense of adventure. I think the game is a little more advanced. There are more like keyword systems and inventory, and I think the choices are a little more, well, not the choices, but the things that you are faced with, to me, are more interesting. They're more entertaining, more fun in Fabled Lands. But that's not to say that I'm having a bad time with Vinland here. It's just hasn't wowed me. I was hoping that maybe this would be like a really, really cool, tiny little box game that would be a lot of fun. But so far, it's just been kind of a distraction, I think you could say. But all right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at Cartaventura Adventure Awaits Vinland. Cosmos really needs to work on the way that they name their games. I don't know, they're so weird, so matter of fact. Like they're not evocative. They're not. They don't like stretch your. They don't reach out and grab your imagination, do they? But all right, guys, well, take it easy. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.